Points against Real Sociedad are never a given. In fact, they're actually quite difficult to get. And even in a 4-1 victory, it wasn't all great from FC Barcelona today. In fact, much like Rayo Vallecano last week, if FC Barcelona don't put the ball on the back of the net and get the scoreline they do, and if Real Sociedad stays onside, then we're talking about an entirely different game. Not to be too boring, but the truth of the match is always somewhere in the middle, isn't it? 4-1 is a great result, and there was a lot of promising signs. There are also a lot of worrying things that could hamper Barcelona throughout the season. As always, even though you can hear I am a bit under the weather today and a bit crankier than normal, you know that I never really get too extreme, too good, or too bad with any result. So without further ado, here we go. Here are the 5 headlines for Barcelona's 4-1 victory over Real Sociedad. Headline 1 is Flip the Switch. I had already begun, and I was pretty deep in writing my 5 headlines, a lot of negative stuff in that first draft, but then all of a sudden Xavi put in the subs, and their talent and quality shone through. With the talent up top at his disposal, Xavi proved that, yeah, you can play all those talented, I know world-class is a word that's thrown around too much, but not going to use world-class, but I'll say very, very talented players up top, and Xavi proved that you can play them all together, switching to a 3-4-3. And those subs came on and joined Robert Lewandowski, who'd been tirelessly fighting through that match and proving in a few short moments that he is a switch to be flipped all by himself. He had 2 goals and an assist in a game where Barcelona were rather blah for 50 minutes or so, but he finished his chances like we knew he would. This is why Barca got him for this season. Champions League be darned, but there are quite a few times in this long year in the Liga where Barca don't bring their best, and Lewandowski will still help them walk away with 3 points. But the big switch obviously was when the subs came in. We'll have more on Ansu in a minute, but for Xavi to be able to and have the option to flummox La Real by inserting 2 very, very good forwards, putting Rafinha on the right isolated and Dembele on the left outside of Ansu, who was setting up as an interior on the left opposite Gavi, is obviously why Xavi asked for the wingers that he did. And before Real Sociedad could adjust and figure out that Barcelona were playing with 1,000 attackers, Barca put them on the back foot and put the ball in the net. Which even at that point in the match, it felt like Barcelona had blown this game open because Real Sociedad were on the back foot and not ready. And before Real Sociedad could adjust and figure out that Barcelona were playing with 1,000 attackers, meaning there was some space in behind, it was too late. Barcelona were pressing, they were on the front foot, they put the ball in the back of the net, and a really nice finish by Dembele as well in that second goal that even at that juncture in the game felt like they were blowing things open, and obviously they did in short order. And coupled with that is headline 2, Ansu is equal to difference maker. Yes, in the second straight game, coming on as a sub, changing things up, and you count the Gamper trophy as well, Ansu has an ability to flip a match on its head. Of course, we know that he's a very, very talented young player. We know that he's had his injuries, and we wonder what we're going to get out of him this season. But if this is what you're going to continue to get, I'll continue to say it. He, Pedri, Araujo, their ceiling is how far this team can probably go. Because we can't anticipate about how much all these other established professionals will give us. But those 3 being at their ages, and Araujo I think is becoming more and more of a question mark. We'll get to that in a second. But Pedri and Ansu, and more on Pedri in a second as well, but Ansu in particular on the offense, on the attack, what he can give this team, coupled with Dembele and Rafinha and Lewandowski, that is Barcelona's ceiling. He did get a little bit of luck on Lewandowski's touch to set him up for the 4th goal, but I won't take anything away from the staggering display from him in those 30 minutes. I don't even know how much he knew about the assist on the 3rd goal either, right into Lewandowski's path, but the fact of the matter is that Ansu puts himself where he needs to make an impact. He creates his own luck. He attracted attention and had a sublime back heel assist to Dembele, and the back heel was sweet, but Dembele's shooting lane remained open because the entire Real Sociedad defense collapsed on Ansu after he faked the shot. There will continue to be a temptation to ask why Xavi doesn't start Ansu, but with the rotation of Ansu, Dembele, and Rafinha, it feels like with that kind of talent, Xavi is only going to be getting it right. Unlike other areas of the field, there are no complaints from me with that rotation at this point in the season, and as I said, Xavi is going to have a hard time getting that wrong until we do see some of the cracks. But at this point, hard to get it wrong. But speaking of wrong, headline 3 is wrong to start. Not very often in Xavi's tenure have I said, from minute 1, Xavi did not get this right. And the irony is that Barca scored in the first minute, so it seemed like Xavi had got it right. But let me, readjust that headline and say, by minute 2, Xavi had started to get it wrong, and you understand the issues with what he put out to begin that match. Not even the 11, but the tactics that he gave and the instructions he gave to that 11. Because it is a 4-1 victory, I'm kind of using this whole third headline to go over all the negative stuff from the first 60 minutes of the match and how Xavi did get it so wrong. Because once Real Sociedad answered for Barcelona, it certainly looked like Barca had their issues. Even after Lewandowski's opener, you can tell that Real Sociedad were ready to take advantage of some of the problems that Barcelona had and the holes that Frankie de Jong was leaving. On the La Real goal, there was an argument that 90% of that goal was on Frenkie de Jong. He lost the ball in the face of Basque pressure, and then he complained to the official instead of trying to get back. Would he have saved the Isak ball off the line? Probably not, but we'll never know because he never reacted. I don't want to do the whole de Jong thing now, but it seems that the club were preparing some of their squad as if they were going to convince him to leave, which is a ton of hubris from FC Barcelona. But due to his salary, that just ain't going to happen. And now he's too good to not get time. And with Busquets out, it was either de Jong or Pjanic, and Xavi opted for the Dutch midfielder as the pivot, a position which still doesn't work for him. Also on the Isak goal, which was a good finish, I don't want to take anything away from the Swedish striker, certainly not. But Eric Garcia again struggled with a big and, good striker. He did well offensively, like usual, working really well in particular with Pedri, and he and Christensen were very organized on the offside trap despite only playing some preseason minutes together, leading Real Sociedad offside on 4 different occasions. But Eric Garcia, 1v1 with Isak, not really it on the night. There were a bunch of different times when you were kind of worried about him in isolation, and that pulled Christensen over, which pulled Araujo over, which put the alarm bells on Barcelona's right wing. All right, so 2 more pieces of bad news, and staying on that right wing, the right back situation was still a problem. Because of the pull that Real Sociedad attack had going to the right and pulling those 3 center backs, we have to say, counting the right back in Araujo, to their left, that meant that right flank for Barca was wide open. And for all the talk of Alonso, if Dest is out and him being out of the squad again means that he's definitely out, Araujo at right back isn't working when Barcelona are in a game where they have the ball either, which is going to be most games. Araujo was tucked so far inside, as I just explained, and even when he was trying to cover that space, he wasn't really utilizing the ball to free up that lane. Real Sociedad didn't really have to pressure him in any way, and they were able to keep, even when Barcelona had the ball, they were able to strong side and keep the numerical advantage waiting for that switch that they were going to get off. And then when Dembele did come back to defend, that meant that Dembele, when he received the ball, was starting way too deep, and in the first half was unable to make an impact. And what made matters worse was that Ferran Torres playing off of Lewandowski was an utter failure today. I think the truth of Torres will be somewhere in the middle of me defending him and those saying he's not the right material. He was finally coming back into the team after missing the preseason, and while he did look rusty, his positioning was as much the problem as it was his touch or just, again, getting off the rust of not playing in the preseason. He wasn't combining well with Lewandowski, and he wasn't being a threat out wide. It was night and day when Ansu came on because, the formation changed, but when Ansu was inside, he would start some moves from out wide and come inside, and La Real had to make decisions and hand him off. For Torres, Zubeldia, Lenormand, and Zubamendi quite easily marked Torres out of the game. And when he did get on the ball, it just didn't work. As I always say with him, I'm going to continue to be patient. He's young, he's just coming back, and that at this moment, it's not an excuse for the player and what he's going to be for Barcelona. But at this juncture, it's still an excuse for him this season. So I'm going to be patient with him. And I'm actually going to put some of that on Xavi for putting together an 11 that I don't know what he was seeing in training, but that 11 wasn't working from the very start of this match. And of course it goes on Ferran Torres for not being the player that he needs to be and not doing, I would assume, what Xavi asked him to do, but also on Xavi for putting together an 11 that just didn't have it from minute number 2 after that goal was scored. 4 is why not Balde. Clearly after this match, he does give you something. I don't know how much he knew about the assist. Was it a pass? Was it technically supposed to be a scuff shot? But either way, Balde was able to do enough to make an impact on this game and to show himself as being a fine player for 5 minutes, just as he was in the preseason. And I am a little vindicated because it feels like as his teammates improved, as I said many times about Balde, I felt like as his teammates improved, as their technical abilities improved, his physical tools would be more useful to players like a Pedri. I mean, Gavi he actually never even played with at all, even though they're practically the same age. They've never really overlapped in those teams. I'm also not arguing for him because I've watched him at the younger levels. In fact, that was the very reason why I was concerned that he wasn't going to be ready for any first-team opportunities this year. But he has earned those in the limited minutes that Xavi has given him. And after seeing him in an actual match where the minutes do matter, it does make me question the whole Alonso situation after we just spoke about right back. I don't think I'm going to try to galaxy brain it. If it's smacking us in the face that Dest isn't the answer, the club wants him out, Roberto at right back, I don't think Xavi totally sold on that either. It's why he came in off the bench as a sub, as a defensive midfielder. Then Barcelona are going to need a right back, desperately. And I don't think they have the ability, looking at the fact that they cannot register Koundé. It was one thing to get that money, get that revenue in, and be able to sign Lewandowski and Rafinha, and to dot your I's and cross your T's financially. But clearly, they didn't finish the job. De Jong didn't leave. They can't register Koundé just yet until Aubameyang or Memphis is sold. That means I don't think that they should try to have to fight to register Alonso as well if they only have 2 more spots available for Koundé and potentially a right back. I know Koundé can potentially play right back. Will that change for Araujo? Maybe Xavi has some answers that we don't know about yet, but I think Balde can be the backup. The final argument for Balde is that especially if Xavi is going to use that 3-4-3 that he had in his back pocket, there will be stretches of games where Barca won't be using a left back, as they did for a portion of the game tonight. But I think the counter argument that Xavi and the club would have is the answer to why Balde may not be it. I think it says more about Alba more than Balde, unfortunately. If Alba is falling off a cliff and Xavi is seeing that in training, he may want Alonso because it's going to be more of a split job than a backup job, which makes sense based solely on Alba's 2 games to start this season and the preseason, which is starting to be a pretty big sample size. And headline 5 is Pedri and Ter Stegen kept Barca in it. Ter Stegen, people are going to say, I think I've actually seen a lot of it already, people aren't talking about Ter Stegen. Well, I'm talking about Ter Stegen here because he's put together back-to-back performances that kept Barcelona in matches, and I think is a big reason why Barca started this season with 4 points. Because as emotional as one goal can be, I try to say that, okay, I always look at the tactics and think it's coming down to who got it right, who got it wrong from the sideline. But sometimes it is about the players on the field putting the ball in the net or not. And a goalkeeper is a last opportunity for the other team to put the ball in the net. And Ter Stegen, in the first half in particular, came up huge with those 2 saves. The one on David Silva was a very, very good save. Maybe the best save that he has made in multiple seasons. There was one where I know he was coming to his left and he was able to stop one with his wrist. I don't remember, it was a Champions League match, I think, that didn't really matter as much. I want to say Dinamo Kiev from a few seasons ago. That was a tremendous save. But this one against David Silva is one that should immediately go on his highlight reel and the one that saved Barcelona in this match. And Pedri, he was asked to do everything over the course of those 90 minutes. In the 4-3-3 to start, he had to be the connector. He had to be the one to play in Torres or Lewandowski. He was asked to switch play. He was asked to defend at times next to De Jong in a double pivot. His ball retention abilities led to that first goal, and I'm going to sound like a broken record talking about Pedri this season. I know that. I'm warning you. There's going to be a lot of praise about Pedri this year, but I, in good faith, couldn't come out with this match review without praising and giving a compliment to Barcelona's number 8, because he is, as I continue to say, Barcelona's most influential and important player over the course of 90-minute games, just because of how many jobs he can do. All right, so now the match review is complete. Not the best performance, but 4-1 is a really good result, and it feels like Barcelona are at least back on track. And they're still without Jules Koundé, who arguably might be their best defender, and a player that could continue to take Barcelona to a higher stratosphere. Expect the podcast on Tuesday night. We'll continue to break down this match with a little more detail, and I hope we're talking about registering Koundé. Are we talking about selling Memphis, Aubameyang, or Dest? Who knows? All I know is that 4-1 is a good result in the second game of the season for Barcelona, and as always, until next time, Forza Barça.